Most fans probably agree that Warriors should have ended after Omen of the Stars. At first, such an idea really upset me, but now that I'm older and Darkest Night to Thunder has been released, I thoroughly agree with this wish. The books would be better off. Series should not be lasting this long, and if you notice, most don't. Very few series last this long, and when they do, they're usually elementary series that don't really have an overarching plot. Warriors is probably the longest series that mostly follows one plot. This is the root of most of the problems. The issue is, even though we all believe that it should have ended at Omen of the Stars, we still continue on with purchasing and reading the books that come after. The later books definitely feel like a money grab, especially now that Victoria Holmes is mostly out of the picture, and therefore some of the passion seems to have left the team. As long as there are still people buying the books, of course HarperCollins is going to call for more to be written. Why would they not take advantage of such an opportunity to get money? And obviously there are still people out there that like newer books, even if they aren't as good quality. We're at 4 books being released a year. At some point I think that it may have been 5. We had the releases of main series books in April and November, the release of a graphic novel every June, and the release of a super edition every September. It was 5 last year because we got the revised Ultimate Guide in addition to our usual books. Though it was the 20th anniversary year, it was still excessive. This is a lot of books for one series. This is able to happen because there are multiple writers for a series. Normal writers usually cannot pull off such a feat individually, maybe unless you're, like Brandon Sanderson or something. Other than him, other writers can't release so many books a year. Warriors gets away with this because it has multiple writers. Yet, this is also the issue, and always has been, though it has been getting worse in later years. Authors usually have a set idea of what they want to happen in their story and how they want their series to be. It's hard to write a book together because you may have at least slightly different writing styles, and you definitely will have at least some different ideas for how you want the story to go. Kate Carey and Sheriff Baldry are our main writers for Warriors. The two ladies trade off every main series book and every super edition. This works okay for super editions because they are not one continuous story, but for main series books, more and more just isn't working out. There's so many retcons at this point. Paired with the fact that Warriors has some anonymous editor who wasn't even there for the first 5 arcs, it's a mess. There are so many different plot lines that the writers want that each conflict with each other. Of course, this has ended up in a mess. Another issue is that the authors feel like every story needs to be told. How many times have we seen Mudclaw's death at this point? At least from 3 different perspectives. Why? Why is this necessary? Apparently, we gotta know how each and every character felt about this ordeal. Once was enough, but instead we get 3, 2 of which were released in books in back-to-back years. We saw Mudclaw's death from his own perspective in June 2021, and then from One Whisker's perspective in September 2022. This is hardly over a year apart. We've seen other scenes multiple times too, like when Bluefur gave up her kids, Tiger Claw was exiled, Stonefur died, Tiger Heart was brought back to the lake, etc. Why is it necessary to show the same scene over and over and over again? In fact, in the last Super Edition vote we were given, the options besides Riverstar were Ivypool and Misty Star, even though we've already gotten those 2 characters' perspectives before. And it turns out we're still getting an Ivypool Super Edition, despite the fact that she didn't win that poll. And I'm very thankful that this book will apparently be covering new ground. But was it originally going to if it had won the Super Edition poll back in the first place years ago? Before the books that this Super Edition is now supposed to take place during were written? I don't know, it might have just been covering ground that we had already seen. So at least it was postponed, and that'll hopefully give it a better plotline. This is the issue though. The authors believe that every single story needs to be told, and that it needs to be told from every cat present's perspective. We need to know every detail of every single thing that happened from about the time of Blue Star's birth to the era of the current books. Which, part of the magic used to be that there were lots of gaps left for fan interpretation. For example, for 10 years we didn't know anything about Snowtuft's backstory, so fans instead came up with their own theories. Go watch the Sadness Runs Through Him map about Snowtuft. It's really good. We didn't need to know Snowtuft's backstory in the first place because he was a minor character and his backstory isn't relevant to the plot whatsoever. This is only one of the dozens of examples of information given to us that we did not need. When writing, authors should only give away information that is necessary to the plot. Nothing else should be told. Snowtuft's backstory was not important to the plot, so we never needed to know it. Until Place of No Stars, he was always a minor character. We never needed to know his backstory because it wasn't important to the plot itself, and only important to the fun that we had as fans coming up with ideas of where Snowtuft could have come from. I, and probably almost every Warriors fan, want to see new stories be told. I don't want to revisit a scene I've already read from another character's perspective. And I don't mean that I want to be told the backstory of some minor character either, or even to be told some detail of a major character's life that happened after they are a point of view character. No, that's boring. I want something completely new. Like, what about seeing some super editions or novellas about characters from the field guides? I'm talking like Code of the Clans and Battle of the Clans. I would love to see more in-depth stories about the cats who created the codes, or of some who broke it that we don't know about. I wouldn't even mind revisiting some of the same stories again, but more in depth, because in this case, I don't really remember any of those characters. It would also be cool to see some stories about some random background characters that happened during those times. I mean, honestly, what did happen between Shadowstar's life and Pine Star's choice? We don't really know other than what happened in Cloudstar's journey, and then the short stories in the field guide that we honestly all forget. Here are some characters that could be interesting to learn about. Daisy Tail. She was the cat who inspired the code rule about kids having to be 6 months old to be apprenticed. Rye Whisker. His death inspired the rule about not taking any mates from other clans. With how much Warriors enjoys talking about half-clan relationships, they could revisit this one, and it would be fun because it'd actually be a different sort of story than the ones we're used to. They're practically the same thing over and over again. But it'd also lead into the current plot, in a way. Flower Star. She became leader after the previous deputy and leader died at the same time. She never served as deputy, and was appointed leader because her clanmates killed each other in a fight to the death about who should be leader. This whole ordeal led to the rule that a new deputy needs to be chosen by Moon High. Skywatcher. He's from Firestar's quest and has ties to SkyClan. His backstory is interesting and would actually be entertaining to read from his perspective. There's a lot that we don't know about him, but we could learn, and it'd be fine. It wouldn't ruin anything, hopefully. Echo Song. For being so important to recreation of SkyClan, we honestly know little enough about her that it would be entertaining to see more about her story. It would even be cool if it went over the time in between SkyClan and the Stranger and Hawkwing's journey. We don't know a lot about that era of SkyClan. Or why not create a new character that lived during a time period that's been completely glossed over? This list didn't take long to compile, and it would be far more interesting to read about these characters than One Star or Leopard Star. However, this only tackles the issues presented in the main arcs. It would be cool to do a sequel arc to Dawn of the Clans, though I can understand why we also wouldn't want this to be done, considering it could ruin the characters we know and love from that arc. Kind of like they did with Riverstar's home. A bit of me wants to see them do this, but most of me does not. Unfortunately, stopping the series before more damage can be done also does not seem like an option. Which honestly, it would be a little sad if Warriors came to an end, even though it kind of needs to. What about a time skip though? And by time skip, I don't mean one like in between Omen of the Stars and A Vision of Shadows. I mean like a real time skip, one that is at least 10 years. I understand wanting to do one last arc with the current characters. That's okay, especially because the authors have hinted at having apparently great plans coming for the characters we know and at least used to love before their personality changes. This finale could wrap things up and give all of our beloved characters a chance to have noble deaths. It would make sense because the first 4 arcs all mostly led into one story. So then if we were given an 8th main arc, it could wrap up A Vision of Shadows, The Broken Code, and a Starless Clan altogether. That could be nice, especially if we get to see beloved characters one last time as they perhaps give their final stand. The older cats like Bramblestar, Scrollflight, Jayfeather, Lionblaze, Tawny Pelt, Dovewing, Ivypool, Brackenfur, etc. all deserve to have noble on-screen deaths. And some of those characters, it needs to come soon for them. I'm looking at you, Bramblestar. But after that, do a time skip. Please, authors, I'm begging you. This would fix a lot of the issues with every story needs to be told. It would be telling other cats' stories as the authors want, but it would be what we want too because they would be brand new stories. We would get entirely new cast of characters with new problems to solve. If the characters were bland and uninteresting, whatever. It wouldn't be a huge problem because at least they would be new characters rather than rooting the characters we once loved. It's kind of like what they did recently with the new Pokemon series. The old characters, their time was over, so now they're showing new characters. and it's still the same world. They're exploring stuff. From my understanding, I haven't actually watched it. This is what I've heard from my brother. But Warriors could use that. This would be a great fix. I feel like everyone would get what they wanted. It would be a nice change, a very nice change. I would still continue on reading Warriors if this happened. If it doesn't, I think I might give up because the new books, they're just not the same and it's kind of really sad. Anyway, thanks for watching this video. I mainly do videos on Warriors, so I'm trying to expand my horizons and do them on all sorts of books. So make sure if you like art or any book series to like, comment, and subscribe and check out more of my videos. It would mean a lot. Thanks for watching. Bye!